I was kind of afraid this was going to be like an hour and a half episode, to be honest. But hey, we're making great time. So let's get on to my next 5 of my top 100 films, my favorite films. So a little disclaimer before I go down a little bit farther on the list here is that all these movies that I say that are in my top 100 have the movie magic. They all have it. They're all great. They're all amazing. I don't need to continually say that every time. And I'm not going to do an in-depth review of each one of these. I'm going to like talk about some unique things that I really love about them, what makes them special, whether they're going to rise and fall in my top 100. Because it's possible. I mean, I would say once we get to maybe around 50, it's kind of set in stone a little bit. But also, this is just my opinion. It's not objective fact that these are the 100 best films of all time. This is my personal list. And, if over time you think one should be in this list, maybe comment down below. I will respond to you. I would love to have a discussion about these and whether or not you like these films or not as well, and whether you think they deserve to be in a top 100 list as well. So, yeah, without further ado, let's just get into it here. Number 75, we have the first Avengers film, Marvel's Avengers, back in, came out, 2012? Just like thinking about, it was one of my favorite movie experiences I've ever had. It's definitely one of my most memorable because it's just seeing all these superheroes assembled in one film is just unthinkable. It was unthinkable at the time. A lot of people didn't really expect this was actually even going to happen, and somehow they pulled it off, and they pulled it off incredibly well. I mean, look how much these movies are making now. Look how much Endgame made. Like, Endgame is also spectacular. And maybe, I don't know, it might not make it into my top 100 just because of the comic book fatigue and everything. Maybe over time, it'll grow on me a lot more because Endgame is great, and it was in my top 10 of 2019. But the first Avengers film was just very special to me because it's very memorable. It's one of my favorite experiences of all, film experiences of all time, movie-going experiences of all time, I should say. But yeah, does it have the potential to rise and fall? Maybe. I think it's definitely going to stay in my top 100, but at 75, it might fall a little bit depending on the films that I watch over time. Because I don't know. I mean, I might like Endgame and Infinity War a little bit more than Avengers, even though I'll rewatch Avengers more because just almost nostalgia at this point. I mean, it was 8 years ago? Fuck, dude, Jesus. Oh my god, I'm getting old. And I'm like, 24? Fuck. Anyway, so number 74, we're going, The Departed. The Departed. And it's right. The one that's starring, Leonardo DiCaprio, Matt Damon, fucking, what's his name? What's his face? Jack Nicholson. Jesus Christ. And Mark Wahlberg. Martin Sheen's in this as well. So amazing performances. Directed by Martin Scorsese, right? Yep. It's actually probably one of the best remakes of all time. I'm pretty sure this was a remake of a foreign film of similar name. But yeah, probably one of the best maybe crime dramas ever made. I mean, Scorsese. This is like Scorsese's wheelhouse almost. These crime dramas. Such as, The Departed, Goodfellas, The Casino, even Taxi Driver, really. But yeah, this one is amazing. I loved another very memorable film for me when I first watched it. I didn't catch this one in the theater because I think I was too young at the time. But I remember watching it on DVD at home, and I was like, whoa, this was incredibly good. And also very unexpected, incredibly unexpected ending. One of the most memorable endings I've ever seen. And very poetic as well, especially with the symbolism at the very last shot of the film. But yeah, it's definitely, yeah, and I think it's considered one of the best remakes ever of all time. So yeah, does it have a chance to rise and fall? I don't know. I think it's pretty good where it stands because I do love The Departed. And I think it's obviously deserved to be in the list. So I don't know, it maybe has a chance to fall. Maybe I think a lot of these films have a chance to fall, but Maybe not my next three, but we'll see. So going to 73, though. Giving on to 73, I have a pretty recently released film, I believe, 2016. Okay, so not incredibly recent, 4 years ago, but I'm talking Swiss Army Man. And this is probably one of the most unique films on my entire list. Possibly one of the most original ideas I've seen in a film. It's about, if you're unfamiliar with Swiss Army Man, which probably a lot of people are, other than these other, 5 on this list, on this shortened list. Swiss Army Man's about a guy who's stranded on an island and is about to kill himself, and then he sees a body wash up on shore. And, the main character is Paul Dano, but the body that he discovers is Daniel Radcliffe. And he's actually dead body, but he actually uses his dead body to actually, get him off the island. Like, his farts propel him, like, across water, which is hilarious. He can, like, shoot things out of his mouth. His mouth, like, just propels water so that he can drink. He's, like, Swiss Army knife, but as a man. He's incredibly useful, and he's used for Paul Dano to survive. And I think it's one of the most moving films I've seen in recent times, and it's also very personal to me and very relatable to me. So, yeah, it's an incredible film. It's also hilarious, and it made me get really emotional, especially at the end, and it's also a film to just have this great theme of just, not giving a shit what other people think of you. Obviously, yeah, that can be very important, but, just boiling down these simple ideas. It's like, because Daniel Radcliffe's character is very innocent and he doesn't know anything about the world, so Paul Dano has to, tell him about him. So he's just like, oh, why don't you fart in front of people? Like, why can't you not fart in front of people? And it's just like, well, yeah, like, why? I mean, like, it's not particularly harming others, but I mean, it's stuff like that just, like, puts a lot of, these social norms into perspective, and just kind of, not judging people just because of what they look like, and, just trying to be yourself and don't change for anyone else, and, not really care what others think of you. And I thought it's a very moving film, along with it just being incredibly original, very fun, and incredibly funny, and, touching as well. So, yeah, number 73, Swiss Army Man. If you haven't seen it, check it out. I'm pretty sure it's available on Amazon Prime or something. I'm almost positive. But anyway. So, number 72. We have a fun one for you on 72. This is just my personal favorite. We have Point Break. If you're unfamiliar with Point Break, it stars Keanu Reeves and Patrick Swayze in his prime. Patrick Swayze in his prime. Gary Busey's also in it as well. But it's about an FBI agent played by Keanu Reeves who tries to infiltrate a team of, like, bank robbers who are also surfers. Directed by Kathryn Bigelow as well, which is she did what? Pretty sure she did Zero Dark 30 and Hurt Locker as well, which is very interesting. But this one is definitely her best one, I will argue. I am an FBI agent. If you haven't seen the film, that doesn't make any sense to you. But if you have seen the film, I mean, Keanu Reeves in his prime, Swayze in his prime. I mean, it's just hilarious. It's just a great film. It's a fun film, and there's actually there's a good bank robbing scenes as well. The ex-presidents, that's their that's them. Their mantra, I guess, when they're robbing a bank, they just dress up as ex-presidents. But Point Break is the shit. Watch it if you haven't. It's pretty cheese. It is kind of a cheese fest. I mean, you're getting Patrick Swayze and, like, young Keanu Reeves, but, like, it's amazing. Point Break is great. So, yeah, check it out. It's pretty low on Rotten Tomatoes. I mean, 69% fitting, and 79% audience score, though, so audience likes it a lot. I mean, I guess critics not as much, but, critics can be wrong. I mean, we've seen that. So, anyway, so final film on my top 100, well, not on the entire top 100, but today, number 71, Evgeny Malkin. Number 71, Monsters Inc. We have Monsters Inc. I think this is the first Pixar film on here. There's spoiler alert, there will be more, but Monsters Inc. I think it's obviously one of my favorites. Other than The Incredibles and the Toy Story franchise, I would probably, this one's the next one up for sure. I love Monsters Inc. Monsters Inc. is really great, and also very touching film. And I think, I mean, whatever, Monsters Inc. is great. I don't need to really say anything too much about Monsters Inc. that hasn't already been said. I mean, every Pixar movie doesn't need any, selling for anyone to watch it, especially Monsters Inc. because I think it's one of the best. So yeah. I forgot to say, does Swiss Army Man, Point Break, and Monsters Inc. all have a chance to rise and fall? I think all three of these films have more chance to rise in my list than fall, because I do love these three films a lot, and I think they all kind of just do something for me that I think maybe The Departed and The Departed and The Avengers also do something to me. So I mean, all these films are great. So we'll see over time. I don't know. We'll see. I'm sure after a year, I'll probably revisit this list again. So, yeah, we'll see. But, yeah, I did like an actual recent change early ahead, actually, like coming up a little bit in a couple more episodes. We'll get down to where I switched some movies up a little bit. It was just like a small change, but it changes. Like I said, my top 100 changes over time, and, sometimes opinions change. It happens, but that's my top 100 for this. The next 5, my top 100. That's 75 through 71. So